Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about good debt versus bad debt. Debt overall has a lot of different connotations, thoughts, principles around it. There's some people who say you should never, ever, ever get involved in debt. Other people are like, you can use it as a tool to leverage. I look at debt as a tool or a weapon, right? A tool can be used to build something or to tear something down. And I see debt as something very, very similar. Debt used in the right way can be used to generate massive amounts of wealth in an abbreviated amount of time. Debt used in the wrong way can completely suffocate you and ruin you financially forever. So I think that depending on the season that you're in your life, debt can be used in different ways, or I might have different philosophies around debt. It's a concept that you have to understand that there's good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is things that are not backed by a cash flowing asset. So bad debt, which I struggled with early on, and I racked up $25,000 of credit card bills. I was buying trips. I had a Mercedes. I got a loan on it. I extended it out over 72 months instead of an abbreviated amount of time on the financing. I had a mortgage that was 30 years out and I made minimum payments on it every single month. The majority of the payments when you get a house is all interest front-end loaded. So when you live in a house for 7 years on average, then guess what? You move. When you get a loan and you've made payments for the past 7 years, majority of that money goes to interest to the lender and you still owe almost the same amount of principal on that property. So understanding that on a car loan, if you amortize it longer, meaning that's the length of time that you push out the payments over 72 months instead of 36 months, you're paying on it longer, so the money is out longer, so you're paying more money in interest than you are in principal. So it costs you more, right? You can pay down your car by making an extra payment every single year and knock a couple years off of your loan. If you can pay down a house by making one extra payment every single year, and let's say your mortgage payment is $1,500 a month, you make one extra payment per year, and that extra payment will knock it down from a 30-year mortgage to a 23-year mortgage. So you make 23 payments, and all of a sudden it knocks, what is that, 7 times 12, 90 some payments or 84 payments off of your mortgage, right? So it's understanding how debt works and having an awareness about it is the most important thing. The other thing is credit card debt. Credit card debt is not good debt. Yeah, hey, I can rack up points, I can get free mileage, I can get gift cards, and we do that, but we pay off our credit cards every single month. So I do buy liabilities on credit cards, but only if I have cash in the bank to pay it off at the end of every single month. Early on, I didn't do that. Early on, I had 25 grand in credit card debt. I had $80 cash in my bank account. I had to borrow money to make the minimum payment. I was a bad steward of capital. And because I was a bad steward of capital, I became a better steward of capital. I actually gained some respect for what debt can do and what money can do. And I understood that I'm not buying anything unless I have an asset, a cash flowing asset that can pay for that debt. So now I don't buy anything with debt that I can't pay for with cash, unless it's a piece of cash flowing real estate or some other asset that I can cash flow. So if I go and buy a piece of real estate, like a rental property, and I know that my payment on this rental property is $1,000 a month, but it cash flows $1,500 a month, and I can cover all operating expenses and my mortgage payment with that, and put a few $100 a month in my pocket, that to me is good debt. And it would take you a long time in order to save up enough money to pay for a $200,000 house in cash versus being able to leverage it with good debt, but back it with a cash flowing renter, right? I've seen this done also with vehicles, with cars, like the beauty of Turo. You can go and buy a car and you can rent it out on Turo 5 to 15 days a month, and it pays for that car because you get this elevated amount of rent by putting it out there, and then you can then use the vehicle 15, 20 days a month for yourself. So I know people who do that. I know people who do that with jets. They buy a jet or they buy a private plane, and then they use it for their own business as well, but they also charter it. And by chartering it, it brings in cash flow that then pays the operating expenses, pays for, if not all, most of the debt service, and then they can utilize that asset or liability that would have been a liability, and they can utilize it for themselves. I've done this with vacation rentals. So I bought a second home up in the mountains. I put debt on it, right? But I Airbnb it. And so it's Airbnb most of the year. I'm able to go up there for 2-3 weeks a year, which is all that I can really use it for anyways. And then I have this amazing property, and tenants are paying down my mortgage every single month. So there's bad debt and there's good debt. I will say this, as I get older, more mature in my investing career, and as I have access to more capital and more cash myself, I think you go through these different seasons of life that you want to start paying some things down. So like right now, I still have mortgages on my primary residence, right? And I have 2 primary residences, one in Ohio, one here in South Carolina. I still have mortgages on both of them. Why? Because they're both at 4%. And right now, interest rates are going up 6-7%. So, and I can make a lot more on my money than 4%. So when you realize, hey, if I get a mortgage at 4% interest rate, but I can then take my money and lend it out at 12 or 15% interest rate, that's called arbitraging your money. So it might make sense to refinance a property, pull out $100,000, go and make 12% on it because the bank is only charging you 4%. You're making an 8% spread on your money. So that's what I've been doing, and that's kind of the season that I'm in right now. But now we're selling some properties, we're refinancing a couple other ones and cashing out investors, and I got a little bit more cash and liquidity to me personally. And guess what? I'm thinking about, even though I know I can make better than a 4% return on my money, I'm thinking about still paying down or paying off both of my houses just so I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? It's like one less thing to think about, right? I'm buying cars with cash instead of financing them now. I'm doing things along those lines because that's where I am in my life. And I think probably over the next 15 years or so, that I'll start buying properties either with cash or very low leverage, just because I don't want the liability or the headaches that come with it. Or just the thought process, right? The mental energy that it takes to think about, did I pay the mortgage? Oh, great, the bank's asking for, my profit and loss statement and my tax returns and all this other nonsense on an annual basis or quarterly basis or semi-annual basis. And I just don't want to have to deal with some of that stuff. What's the debt service coverage ratio? It's cash flowing, we're paying rent we're paying our mortgage every single month. Like, don't sweat it. But they're always asking for that kind of stuff. So there's a level of peace of mind and security of knowing you don't owe anybody anything on it, and you can just own your properties with cash. So depending on the season that you're in, what your philosophy is, there's no right, there's no wrong to this. But if you're looking to scale your business and you're early on and you're not worried about risk of having debt, then by all means, go and use it. Just be smart about it and make sure it's backed with a cash flowing asset, right? If you're in a stage where, kind of like where I am right now, and you're like, hey, I just want to kind of peace of mind, less headaches, pay off some things, there's nothing wrong with that either. Even though you can make more money on your money somewhere else, that's okay. And if you're in a latter stage of your life, and like my dad, he wants no issues. Like, he's buying cars cash, he owns his home free and clear. He never uses credit card debt whatsoever to pay for any trips or anything along those lines. He buys everything in cash because he doesn't want the headaches at his age. He's 72 years old now. And so that's fine too, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It all depends on what your level of comfortability is with having debt, and do you know how to use debt the right way? So go use debt in a good way. Only get good debt on your properties, and if you don't want any debt, that's fine too. But that's a couple of my thoughts on good debt versus bad debt. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it gives you some things to think about. And I'm not the kind of person who's just going to give you answers. I want you to think. I think in the world, through education and the traditional schooling system, they teach us to just believe anything that we hear, but not to question anything that we hear. And I want you guys questioning everything, right? Even me, right? Hey, Tim, I like this is what you said, but maybe I don't agree with this. Put that in the comments. I'd love to hear some good feedback from you guys and have dialogue and have conversation. It means you're thinking. It gets me thinking in different ways, right? They educate us just enough to believe what we're told, but not enough to question what we're told. And so if you have different beliefs about debt, I'd love to hear them. If you have some different concepts or thoughts about this, please share. And if you have somebody that you've had conversations about good debt versus bad debt with, that you think this will help them really wrap their head around this concept, please share this video and give me a like. Please subscribe. We're always trying to create more and more value for you. And if there's any other videos or any other questions that you might have about money, finance, entrepreneurship, real estate, lifestyle design, please put it in the comments and we'll create a video around this. This video actually came from a question that somebody had about good debt versus bad debt. So hopefully it was helpful. And until next time, be your best.